Tonight, put the oil pump on. So I put a new rubber seal around this piece right here. It's like not a seal, a O-ring. This is what came on it, and to be honest with you, it looked fine, but you know, I went ahead and replaced it. There's an O-ring that goes right there, and that slips down into here. And I guess there's not a seal between the oil pump and this little tube, because I didn't see a seal there. I also didn't put any gasket. I didn't put a gasket between here. There's no gasket between the oil pump and because I guess who cares if oil leaks a little bit down here? It's in the oil pan. What I did replace is the timing, the chain tensioner. This one, let me turn on the light. This one had some pretty deep grooves in it, and now I see why, because, man, this thing is on there tight. That tensioner is no joke. Bought these at Tractor Supply, but I ended up having to file the tips down and modify it to make them much smaller in order to see if you can see that. Yeah, see, that's a little, I don't know what you call that, a C-clip, but to get this in here, see, this pulls off when you squeeze the handle, it stretches it. I think that's called a C-clip or something like that. So I had to file it down to get it fit in there so I could pull that little clip off to get this off. But anyway, I'm going to torque these bolts down. And this piece up here, it looks fine to me. Nothing wrong with that. And so I just put it back on there. Okay, I'm just putting in the some of the timing chain guides. You can see, let's see. I've got the inner guide rail and the outer guide rail installed. And here's the pins that go through there. I'm about to tap this one in, and in the field service manual it says to put some sealant around these, and I don't want to put, you know, RTV or anything, so I'm just using some of this aircraft sealant. It never really gets hard, so it's not going to clog anything up. It kind of stays, but it's a sealant, so I'm just kind of coating it around the guide pin, you know, like around the outer section, so when I hammer it in, it kind of seals around there. Don't really know what else to use there, but anyway, got the oil pump on there, and just kind of fed the chain through here temporarily so I can figure out how to route everything with the rails, the chain guide rails. So that's where I'm at. It's a little confusing. I took the timing device off so I could get the timing chain in, and there is one Woodruff key. You can see it right there. One little Woodruff key right there. There are no more Woodruff keys. And in the field service manual, it says there are 2 Woodruff keys on this shaft. And my shaft does not look like this one. It does not. Let me take this key out so I don't lose it. I'm going to put it right here and then take that shaft out. All right, let's see here. I'm just going to slide this out the back. Okay. What's going on here? There are no there is one Woodruff key on here, and that shows 2, and this is not machined for 2. So I don't know what's going on there. I guess this is like a different model, but there are no Woodruff keys in this hole. Whoops, that slides in there. Okay. Then this little Woodruff key, God, if I drop this thing, I'm fucked. Or if I lose this little piece, you have this thing, right? So that matches that piece right there, and the flange goes to the back. And I see there's a channel, a little slot there for the Woodruff key. All right. So I'll put that on there. There you go. You can see the little Woodruff key right there. Whoops. All right, that has slid over the Woodruff key. Let's go ahead and slide it on there. Okay, so that slides past the Woodruff key. I don't know if that key is supposed to ride halfway on here and halfway on the timing device. And this is supposed to kind of be out the back a little bit, because I'm supposed to, you know, just push out the back end a little bit. I know I shouldn't have fucking taken this thing out. There's no instructions about this at all in the field service manual. It just shows a assembly right here, and it's not matching. So anyway, on here, there's a little channel for the Woodruff key. But what I'm confused about is, why is there a channel on here? This must have to ride on half the key, and then this rides on half the key. Anyway, no idea. Timing device back on the engine, and very difficult to get the Woodruff key, but I've got just a little bit of play. Just jiggles around a little bit, not very much. Not sure what the tolerance is. Not sure what the tolerance is for that. Let's see if I can record the end play. It's not much. I don't know what's normal. Got to figure out the torque for this guy also. Not sure what that is. Anyway, as you just saw a minute ago, we had a little bit of play. It was forward and backward play. You know, this could move forward and backward like a millimeter. The field service manual says like there should be no movement. It's like 0.12 or 0.15 millimeters of movement. So I did some research. This is the bronze bushing that it actually slides over the shaft here. And this is the sleeve. So the sleeve slides over the shaft and goes here. And then this slides onto the Woodruff key. Now there's two designs. The field service manual shows that there's another Woodruff key right here, but there's not. this part, this actually spins on the shaft, and you can see there's oil holes. I think an earlier part might have had the 2 Woodruff keys. So this one, the Woodruff key, the slot right here is just so you can put the pieces together and slide them over this key. But back to the wear pattern, you can see the wear ring around here? That is from these 2 parts riding on each other and wearing, spinning. And this is bronze, so bronze means it's designed to wear. So I found they still sell this, so I'm ordering this, and I found a NOS sleeve on eBay, so I went ahead and ordered that, and then I'm going to reassemble it and see if that takes up the look out, that's a good fit. That's so it doesn't rock left and right. But I'm going to see if that takes up the forward and backward slack. I replaced the sleeve, so you can see there's a little wear ring on the sleeve, and the sleeve goes behind here. And then I also replaced the bronze bushing. Remember before I had about 1 millimeter of play, and now, let's see. See, there's no play, and the service manual says there's supposed to be no play. Let me see if I can steady this here on the block. There we go. See, there's no forward and backward play in that. The service manual says there should only be like 0.1 millimeter, and I'm actually, you can't really see that, but I can feel it in my hand. But before we had like a 1 millimeter play. So replacing these actually resolved it. You can see the play is now removed. There's no play in that. So I'm going to continue now reassembling and putting the timing chain in. So what I'm also doing here, doing a little work on the pre-chambers. And the pre-chambers, you can see here's a pre-chamber here. It goes into the engine. And the pre-chambers underneath the head right here, there's a sealing ring. And Mercedes recommends replacing those. And they say your standard thickness is 1.9 to 2.1 millimeters. And then you get thicker, thicker, and thicker. In case you've milled the head or done any head work, you need to go thicker. And what this does, it prevents the pre-chamber. They only want it to stick out of the bottom of the head between 7.8 and 8.4 millimeters. So that's like, what, 0.6 millimeter tolerance. I don't know if I got that right. But they only want it sticking out of the bottom of the head, and that's what this spacer sealing ring does. So let's see if I can measure. So if we go over here to the head, let me turn this on. Okay, so the engine overhaul kit comes with some sealing rings, and you can see here. This is number 5. There's one of the sealing rings that came in the kit. Here's the original sealing ring. So if let me zero this out. I'm just going to pick it up in these calipers. Okay, we can see 2.07, right? Now, if I pick up the other one that came in the kit, or the one that came in the kit, this is 2.04, okay? So the tolerance for a standard ring is 1.9 to 2.1. So as long as you're in that range, as long as the replacement is in that range, you're still going to be within this tolerance of sticking out of the bottom. So yeah, like I said, the engine overhaul kit comes with a bunch of standard rings. Some were 1.9, some were 2.07. So anyway, I'm matching those up with the pre-chambers. And so I think two today. Let me put this back over here. Here's the original ring. It doesn't look like anything's wrong with those, but I think they may compress just a little bit. Not sure. Anyway, they are sealing rings, so I'm replacing them. Now, these also came in the kit. So let's measure these. I think these were the two. Okay, see, that one's 2.0. Okay, there we go. That one's 1.9. So that's on the, I think it's cold out here, so that says 1.91. Also, this is made in China, bought at AutoZone. So, yeah, anyway, don't blame me. Don't judge me. Anyway, you saw one of these was 1.9. And even if the sealing ring on the engine is like 2.02, 1.9 would still allow it to fall within this range. So I'm replacing all those with standard rings. What I'm also going to do is get out the wire brush, and you see the carbon buildup on here. I couldn't remove that. It's a little rough, and I just want to get out the brass wire brush and clean that up before I put them back in the cylinder head. This is number 4. You can see how there's some carbon buildup on it even after washing it. And I'm just going to hit it with the brass or bronze wire brush, and then polish it a little bit with the Scotch-Brite, and we'll see how this cleans up. This is after hitting it with the bronze or brass, whatever that is. And it, it put some scratches in it, so then I go back and rub those scratches out with this guy. And see if I can turn the light on. There we go. But it looks, much better. And there's a little bit of rough spot right there that I feel. I'm just trying to smooth it out a little bit. There's some there. So anyway, I'm going to do this to the rest of the pre-chambers, and then I'll put these guys back in the engine. Just found something interesting. If you look at number 1, I've got these all cleaned up. Number 1, you can see what appears to be that spacing seal, or that sealing ring. It's right there. But on 3, 4, and 5, you can see here's one of the rings that came off, so I replaced it with one of the new ones. But there's also one on there already, so it's like there were 2. There we go. You can see it right there. It's like there were 2 on this one. So not sure why some have 2 and some have 1. So I'm going to try to stick them back in the engine, and I'll just measure how far they stick out below the engine. 7.8 to 8.4 millimeters is supposed to be how far. Put these back in is with a 13/16 socket, and literally, I'm trying to do it with one hand, but I just tapped it. It doesn't take much force. It's really hard to pull them out, but easier to put them back in. It doesn't take much force, and I'm just going to tap it down in there until it seats. Back to the micrometer again. Let me get this thing zeroed out. Alright, so this time I'm going to use this little depth finder, And we're going to see how much this is sticking out. It needs to be 7.8 to 8.4. All right, I've got it right there. Whoops. .92. It's right on spec. Let's do that again. .84. So that's 2 measurements. Let's do one more. .86. So with the new, what is it, ceiling ring, standard size, that's exactly in spec. All right, here's something interesting. I just noticed I was going to clean up the head a little more before I put in those pre-chambers. And the gasket, the head gasket, is still on the head. It started to peel off right here, but man, it's like cooked on there. So I'm going to use some paint scrapers to see if I can just get underneath there enough to get this thing off really well. Just putting a real thin paint scraper on the edge, and then just tapping it lightly. I can't do it with one-handed, but I'm just going down around the edges of the engine, and it looks like that's making the head gasket come off. Got that off there almost in one piece. Really tough to get off there. It was just cooked on there. But let's compare that to the new aftermarket head gasket. Let's see if we have the same holes in all the same places. So it looks like I'm already seeing extra holes. See, the original gasket has a hole right there. Here's the hole, but there's a hole, oval hole next to it. That's not on the original, these right here. Then I see our little group of 3 right there. There's a little group of 3. Then there's that extra hole. Now, if there's not an extra, if that hole doesn't exist on the engine, I guess that just doesn't do anything. So yeah, the only difference between the aftermarket and the new one is these oval shaped. There we go. There's the new one, and there's the old one. See these oval shaped ones? Those are not there in the original gasket. What part number is this? 617-010-8820. So everything I can see that's correct. Fun part. I got a razor blade here, and I'm just scraping off all the old gasket. You can see I've gotten it off up here, and also I can remove the carbon buildup from the head here. Real easy to do. You can see I haven't gotten down here to the bottom of the head. Still a bunch of gasket material left. But up here you can see where I've gotten it really smooth. And I just go around and feel, and anytime, like right there, when I see some gasket, scrape it off. And that's going to take a little bit of time. But I'm not taking it to the machine shop because it doesn't need to go to the machine shop. Just need to get the gasket off. There's nothing wrong with the head. Nothing needs to be resurfaced or any of that. So anyway, it's going to take me a few hours. Well, after about an hour and a half of cleaning and scrubbing, I've gotten all the leftover gasket off of the head, and also hit these in the wash tank. I also hit the inside the valves. With a little brush in the wash tank, and can't really get way up in there, but it's good enough. There's a lot of grime in there, so I've got that all cleaned out. Looks like I could get a little more out of that one. That's just the roughness of the casting. Anyway, that's cleaned up really good. It's perfectly smooth and ready to go. That surface can seal with a gasket. So now I'm going to take it back over to the workbench there and start putting in the rest of the pre-chambers and pre-chamber seals. Alright, I know this is a terrible view because you guys can't see, but I've just got a pre-chamber. There we go. I've got a pre-chamber right here, and I just coated it just with a light coating of ATF, so it'll slip in there a little easier. Nothing crazy. And you just stick it in there, and this little tab, see that little tab right there? That lines up with a slot on the pre-chamber. But I just wanted to record this to show you how I'm putting it in there. I got a 13/16 socket which fits the head of the pre-chamber perfectly. Hear how it changed sound once it's seated in there. So that's how I'm doing it. There we go. That's what I just put in there. So now I've got to go under here and measure how far that sticks out. It's supposed to stick out a certain amount. That one may stick out a little further than the other one. It definitely does. I'm going to have to measure it. All the pre-chambers are in. I haven't torqued down the collar nuts. And I've measured, let's see, let me turn on the light. Let's see, I've measured these little squirters, the pre-chamber nozzles, I guess they're called. And they're all between 7.8 and 8.4 millimeters. I think this one's around 7.8. Some of these are like 8.0. Anyway, everything's within spec. And now I just got to get the valves in there and put on the valve stem seals and start assembling the top end of the head. My very scientific method for putting on the valve stem seals. Put a valve in there, and this can and that tape is just enough to hold it in place. And then I take this, put just a little oil on it, get it down in there real good. And then this little piece of tape right here, I just put that over the threads because I don't want the threads to damage the seal. And then I push the seal over that, but I can't do this with one hand. So anyway, you get the idea. And then once it's down there, I put this, what is this, 9/16? I think it's a 9/16 socket. Let's see, let me find one that's loose. There we go. And you see that little groove right there? It's got to go into the groove. So I put the 9/16 socket on there and push it around the valve stem and onto the groove. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. I've got 3 done, gonna do the rest. Do this with one hand. So I took off my little protective cover on the threads. I've got it on there. And you see that little groove? This has just got to go right down. Over that groove. And that's it. That's how you put one of those on. For tonight, you got 5 of them in. I'm gonna do 5 of them probably this week, but it's coming along nicely. You can see the valves. Got a few valves in. And got a few more. So anyway, until next time.